Not quite sure of the YouTube etiquette when it comes to, this intro. Like, do you have to say, "Hi, everybody on YouTube. This is Wingnut"? It just seems counterproductive to me. But then again, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. Well, hello again. I'm just back from a nice little couple week underway. Enjoying the what was spring and now winter again Norfolk weather. Got the day off today. Well, a lot of people have the day off today from the ship, but I'm going back in just to make sure some things are squared away and good to go. That way when we fire back up tomorrow, all the things that need to happen has happened, and we don't have to stress run around like a chicken with a head cut off. I'm pretty sure I don't need to go in today, but I would just like to get in there and check it out. But aside from that, I've been doing a lot of research, about different types and different styles of container gardening. Uh, Raised beds, burlap sack gardening, using, containers, buckets, self-watering container, homemade containers. We're using corrugated steel, water troughs. Just basically any way I can possibly increase the yield of my garden within the space that I have. And there's tons of stuff out there. I mean, it's ridiculous. But it's what works for you. Like, I would like to have chickens, but I live in the city, so I'm allowed to have chickens. I'm allowed to have up to 6, but they can't be within 25 feet of a structure, which I can't do that because of where my garage is positioned. All right, and to not be too close to the neighbor's place or nothing else. You can have 6 hens and 0 roosters. And contrary to popular belief, you can actually have hens laying eggs without a rooster being present. They just won't ever get fertilized, and they won't lay as much. But yep, was wanting to do that. Don't know if I can get away with it or not. I have to look into the laws a little bit more on that one. But trying to find a better way to build the mousetrap when it comes to the raised beds, because I don't have a lot of disposable cash right now. And I got brand new car payment because the wife did need a new car. She just had to have a new car. Her old car, we re-ran it to the end of its lifespan. I mean, wheels fell off twice. And stuff needs to be fixed around the house. Some of the stuff I can do, but the material still costs money. And then there's, of course, this bike payment. But I did find $50 to get a replacement gas cap for the Triumph, as you can see. Quite nice, from a German company. I'll put the link in the description if you're a Triumph fan, you're wanting something a little fancy. And what it is it's a machine replacement, and you take apart your old gas cap, and it's just a replacement cover. Now it's not a locking cap, but it's easier to grip with big gloves on than the factory one, which is about half as thick. But I digress. So we're talking about expanding the yield for gardening. I mean, I can't stress that enough. I mean, the little that I gotta buy as possible. And I am gonna have to buy. I'm not gonna be able to have the garden I want this year. I'm gonna have to do a portion of it this year. Put a couple more beds in next year. Make sure everything's good to go with that. If you've been watching my videos, you'll notice that as the ones where I walk through my yard's getting a little bit more cleaned up as I go. and that's the plan, a little bit at a time. You know, stuff to make the house look nicer and to produce food, and you know, any little bit that helps. I mean, tomatoes aren't cheap. You know, for the cost of a pound of tomatoes, I can buy a tomato plant and get 2 pounds of tomatoes. I just gotta wait for them to grow and tend them a bit, which isn't a bad deal. Yeah, I know. The fuck is a guy in the Navy, rides motorcycles and does gearhead stuff and fiddles with shit like with gardening. But hey, you know, that's what I do. If it's not what you do, it's not what you do. You're not paying my bills. So, man. Now, so we talk about, you know, container gardening. So one of the things I really like is the burlap sack one, because more or less they're good for a year. If it doesn't work out, or you want to try a plant, you know, you don't build a dedicated spot for it. You can set that burlap sack down on asphalt or concrete, and it works the same thing as the container garden. And then the next year, you, at the end of the growing season, you take it and you put it in your compost pile, and voila, you're giving back to the whole process. I like that. I like that a lot. It's kind of neat. I mean, I'm sure there's cases where it would biodegrade quicker, but you can double up your burlap sacks. So I mean, give it a shot. You might like it. I don't know. I'll put the link in the description to some of the stuff I found. I don't necessarily know the people personally whose links I'm putting in there with these great ideas. I'm sure they found it like somewhere else. They found it on Pinterest, and you know, these are people all walks of life. I'm not opposed to listening to what you have to say if you're speaking reasonably. You know, the hardest thing for a lot of people to come around to when they talk about like organic gardening or permaculture is the hippie factor. All right, you know, what's the hippie factor, you say? Well, the hippie factor is pretty much when you've got people who are absolutely and utterly like full swing all about the earth, and I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with being about the earth or what they're doing. It's just, to the majority of people out there, you know, I would say Americans, you have somebody sitting out there going, you know, you can't use fertilizer, man, unless it's natural. You gotta wear homespun cloth because it's natural. People don't like being told what to do. You know, and unfortunately, neither do hippies. And hippies like to tell people what they're not supposed to do when they don't like being told what to do themselves. So, I mean, wrap that around your axle for a minute. So, no one likes being told what to do. So, my approach to it is hey, this is what I do. If you like it, cool. If you don't like it, cool. It's no sweat off my ass. It's really not. I have no vested interest in whether or not you use the information I give out. I will say, however, that any information I do put out, use at your own risk. Some of it is going to be, you know, later on when I get more comfortable with the channel, I may tell you guys some sea stories that may or may not be true. I will not tell you the difference. That's for you to decide. All right? But sea stories are like fishing stories. You don't know which ones to believe. But, you know, it goes back to, once again, I digress. I'm all over the place today. I'm the kind of person, when I'm speaking to people, I gotta have the note cards, like, and I've been an instructor, so it's easy to stay on topic when we're talking about welding. It really is, because this is what I do. You know, but with the gardening, you know, the hippie factor when people talk about permaculture techniques or natural techniques, I don't, maybe it's pop culture that has designed this image in our heads of nothing but, you know, the hippie revival kind of folks that you saw in the 90s, like, make love, not war, man. Which, hey, you know, whatever. Slogans and so on and so forth. It is what it is. But people think that if you're growing food naturally, or a large amount of people think if you're growing food naturally, if you're growing food organically or beyond organic, as I know some people like to say, you know, it's one of those deals where you just got to do what you do. You know, people assume that you don't believe in government, that you want to live in a commune, you don't take showers because soap's against the environment kind of thing, and that's not true. Not everybody does that. Now, quite a large majority of people who want to eat organically or eat beyond organically, they're doing it because they want to have control. And that's one of the things that, you know, being in the military, I don't have a lot of control over what I do. I have taskings, and I have control over whether or not I complete those taskings. You know, but as far as the grand scheme of things, I'm another small, you know, gear in the machine. So when it comes to a lot of personal freedoms that Americans enjoy, whether they realize it or not, your military members don't have those. We actually gave up those rights in defense of our country. You know, and everybody does it for different reasons, but being able to grow my own food and being able to take care of my family that way is just one more little bit of control of my life that I get to enjoy, that, you know, that's all me. Now, you may say, well, what if you get underway and your crops need to be harvested? Well, you know, that's happened. And that's when you know, talk to the people in your community. Just remember previous casts or channels or vlogs. I've said, you know, need to build a community. Talk to the people that your little community that you built and ask them. Say, hey, you know, I'm going to be underway. My wife is going to be working. Is there any way that you could swing by and give her a hand after work one day to harvest? And then I'll share a portion of my yield as, you know, as payment. You don't have to pay people cash. You can barter. You know, hey, someone needs help doing stuff around their yard, you help them with their stuff. When it comes time you need stuff, ask them to help you. They may not be able to help that time, but, you know, you can barter, you know, time for time, work for work, that kind of thing. That makes a difference. But that's, you know, building community, which I know I've covered before. So, you know, container gardening and all that jazz. You know, lots of stuff to do, how to do it. You know, I'm just all over the place this morning with my thoughts. But I'll put a bunch of links in the description, and I don't know these people personally. But, they have great ideas. You like what I got to say, you've been listening, subscribe, you know, give me a like, give me a dislike. I don't care. It's on you. Have a great one.